Mr. Trudeau said we penetrate the cabinets.
I also want to reiterate how deeply sorry Canada is for the situation this put President Zelensky and the Ukrainian delegation in. It is extremely troubling to think that this egregious error is being politicized by Russia and its supporters to provide false propaganda about what Ukraine is fighting for.
Why does this government treat Alberta like a fart in the room that nobody wants to talk about or acknowledge?
I heard her say a word that I know is distinctly unparliamentary, and I think she may want to withdraw it. The word was F-A-R-T.
We love your Mr. Trudeau. I mean, his family's always been such big fans about that.
Happy Monday, everybody. What is going on? Happy Labor Day, everybody. Workers of the world unite and all that. Yeah, that's right. Welcome to episode 6 of the Maple Files. We are, as always, Snow Himbo and Yeti Jesus, which you can see with the words next to our faces. Yeah, right there. That's perfect.
Subscribe here, guys. Actually, it's probably somewhere.
All right, so tonight, I hope everybody's having a good night. For those who had Labor Day today off, I hope you were well rested. Yeah, how's your week been, man?
Oh, it's really good, actually. We just got, my wife ordered what you call it, 2 wind turbines for when we move out east. So, which is quickly approaching now. So, we were gonna originally just go out to kind of like survey everything, but Miss Yeti was able to secure employment already quite close to where we are. So, kind of things are lining up. Everything's coming up Millhouse.
Well, hopefully Millhouse doesn't come up Millhouse.
Just get there. Why is Millhouse here? I specifically requested no Millhouses.
I'm going to write that on the ballot for this election. I specifically requested no Millhouses. But then they probably assume that's a vote for the Liberals, so I might doom everybody to more neoliberalism. Anyway, so today what we're covering is we do have some news. It's not the best news, but it's news, and we don't really do a lot of spin here on the Maple Files. We try to keep it as objective as possible. But the main thing we'll be covering is we do have an upcoming election. Part of that is the news. There is a little bit of developments on that, but we're basically going to go over the different political parties. We're going to look at their policy platforms, and we're going to look at essentially what their vision for Canada is, and yeah, maybe discuss a little bit what that would entail. I kind of wanted to call the segment "The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly," but not a ton of good, at least in my opinion. I don't.
We've got ugly covered. I'm here.
Yeah. Well, we'll both cover that one. But yeah. I don't know. I didn't really. I've reviewed their platforms extensively, and I don't really see any I don't really see any real solutions here. Some crumbs fall off the table over here, or they fall off the table over here. And realistically, I think this country needs a lot more drastic and forward thinking than any of these parties are offering. But that's kind of just the vibe in the West in general. You don't really have a lot of we're going to meet the moment sort of energy. You have more like we're going to moment. We are going to withstand the moment, I suppose.
Yeah. It's kind of like we're going to screw you in slightly different ways, but tell you it's the other person causing it.
Yeah. And that's really where we are kind of similar to the United States insofar as it's always the same shtick. The liberals or the conservatives basically say like the old government was bad, will be the good new government. And then when they start to not deliver on their promises, they blame the old government and say, well, look at the state of affairs we were left in. It was so bad and evil and horrible, and that's why we're not doing it. So,
I mean, we're getting pretty close to them trying it when it was them being in government before. I'm pretty sure Trudeau in like a few months is going to be like, yeah, but that was the other liberals. Not us. No, that was someone else.
Yeah, pretty much. But I digress. We're gonna hop right into the first article because I think it's pretty applicable. So here are the household debt statistics in Canada. This is madenca.ca. I'm not entirely sure of the political leading again of this article, but it does have all the sources right here. It's everything from Statistics Canada to Trading Economics. So yeah. So without the intro, because I feel like I already that's an intro. Here's where we're at with regards to household debt in Canada. And this is up to date. It was last updated June 11th. So household debt is this is important. It's the combined amount owed by all members of a household. So what that means is if you're married, well, you share the debt anyway. But it's if you're just like common law or you live with family, it would be like all the different
kind of like groups in the family or such.
Yeah. So the most outstanding first thing I noticed, and I mean right off the bat, I knew we were bad. I didn't know we were this bad. So the average household debt, not including a mortgage, is almost $41,500. In April 2022, Canadian household debt was $2,116 billion.
That's insane.
Half of all Canadians earn less than the median yearly income of $37,899 in 2019. So the average household debt is actually more than the yearly income of basically half of Canada.
Yeah.
So what that means is even if you are contributing 100% of your household's income, if you're not if you only have one earner in the household, you're never going to make that back. And that's not including interest traps. That's not including P&I, penalties and interest. That's not including many different factors here. So it's already looking kind of bleak. Mortgage borrowing increased by 41% in 2021. In 2021, the average ratio of debt to income was 173.08% compared to 88.77% in 1990.
So when they say mortgage borrowing increased by 41%, are those people borrowing against their house again? Like remortgaging their houses? Or is that just
so.
Okay, yeah. Because I was like, we're not going up in house ownership. So okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Oh, for sure. Canadians aged 46 to 55 owe the most money and have an average household debt of $72,482, excluding mortgage. Again, guys,
go ahead. Sorry. No,
I need to stress this. This is without a mortgage, because whenever you try and talk about the debt, a lot of people start immediately saying, "Oh, well, mortgages, right?" It's like, no. This take mortgage away. This is just how bad our purchasing power as a country has gotten.
Mm-hmm.
We are when you aren't even able to keep up with how much it costs just to be alive, you're down bad. And so after we go through this, because we do have some other stuff to cover on this topic, we're gonna cover some other news, and then we're gonna have a pretty no nonsense conversation about, okay, well, what is the best path forward for Canada?
I just wanted to make one comment though. You look at the age that there was the 45 to 60. That's the people that are supposed to be retiring soon.
Yeah,
that's going to be hard to be retiring if you that much debt load.
Well, also it's given that it's a renter's market, given that you're I should have looked into this too, just how many people are like renting or living in apartments. But for the older generations, retirement's going to be pretty rough or just non-existent.
Yeah.
No, it's not like our parents.
No.
It's not like
my mom is just retiring now, and my stepdad's not too far behind. But like, they're going to be comfortable, but I can't imagine what some people are going to be going through.
Oh God, I don't know how I'm ever going to retire. I legitimately don't. I'm at the point where
I already know how you're going to retire. You're going to come out and live on land with us out in Nova Scotia.
Good deal. I'll get to that right after I lead the revolution. I may have a couple bullets in me, though. Just kidding, CIA. So yeah, we basically it's looking pretty grim. But almost 6 out of 10 Canadian almost 6 out of 10 Canadian households are in debt. Oh my God.
That's average 60%.
That's 60% of the population are in debt. And again, that doesn't include mortgage.
Holy.
I
didn't realize it was this bad.
No, me neither. Because here's the thing. When I saw that statistic first, like it was around 60%, I thought it was including mortgage. I didn't realize it's like, no, we're just this boned.
Yeah.
Average Canadian credit scores between 600 and 650, with anything above 650 considered a good credit score. What? How do I have a better credit score? I am terrible.
Nice work.
Thank you. Yeah, mine. I'm above this, but still, that's bad. And I mean, of course, it's hard to keep a good credit score when you are like buried in debt, right?
Yeah.
So.
Nope.
Only 34% of Canadians live in mortgage-free homes. So of that home ownership, pretty much 75% of it do not have the purchasing power to even have their home. And here's the thing. A lot of people talk about being homeowners if they do have a mortgage. But realistically, I mean, miss mortgage payments and watch how that situation changes.
Yep. Oh, I'm talking from personal experience. Me and Miss Yeti have lost a house. That's why we're living with family now, and why we're moving to the East Coast, is we lost our house in Fort McMurray. It's just, and it's like, sorry, I just want to make one comment on those debt. The other thing is that is causing incredible stress because they robocall you daily asking for money.
Yeah.
Like daily. It is like, I've gone through it. It is draining morally. Like emotionally draining on you. It's insane.
I also had I don't even know how this happened, but I had a phone call recently for like, what was it? Like it was some stupid ticket I got when I was like, I must have been like 17. But they called me and they're like, "You have a disorderly drunken ticket," and I'm like, "When was this from?" And they're like, "Oh, it was from way back here," and I'm like, "How are you guys just contacting me about this now?" And apparently they did some kind of assessment, and I'm like, I just told them, I'm like, listen, I'm gonna be really honest with you. I already got I still have some debt to pay off, so I'll try and take care of this, but it's it's gonna have to wait a bit because we're already doing the payment plan stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, same thing with us here that we're doing. So it's I was I was a little bit lucky when I did my bankruptcy because I was already not able to work. So it's like, you're gonna have to do this, but also there's no real way they can come after you at the moment. I was like,
yeah, in most cases, when it comes to debt, it's not like too scary. You can kind of negotiate some kind of payment plan, but the problem is like it's essentially a trap. They're just milking you for money because if you can't get caught up, I know people who are in like interest traps, for example, where they're just paying interest and that's it. They can never move past that. They don't have enough money to do so.
well, banks and hedge fund corporations, they trade debt like trading cards essentially. It's worth money to them. So to keep us in debt is a plan. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They make money on it. It's a business plan to them.
Absolutely. So, Canadian household debt remained under 200 billion in the 1960s and 70s, but then began to rise exponentially, reaching over 1,000 billion. Like, I don't even know how to say that number. It's so big. 1,000 billion. Wouldn't that be a trillion?
No, I don't think. I think there's some kind of like weird, like actually, maybe it is. I'm not sure. I know there's some weird way they speak sometimes about stuff like that. It's like, oh, we have 1,000 million. I'm pretty sure that's a billion, but so maybe it's kind of like that.
Basically, this has been a problem for a hot minute. But it's gotten to the point where it's real bad. Anybody concerned about their household debts or not being able to cover their loan and credit card payments can speak to an advisor regarding debt consolidation loans and ways to save on outgoings. Well, yeah, and let's see what else.
I think what people should do with credit card debt is like what Iceland did when they would out those bank those millions, and they just told them to take a hike.
I mean,
the whole world just be like, "Hey, banks, piss off."
The biggest problem with the whole thing is that what we really have is a bunch of predatory companies that they essentially prey on the fact that we don't have enough purchasing power. Oh, I gotta highlight this comment. I think they're just daring us to general strike. You know what? It is very close to general strike o'clock.
Well, you're starting to see like just regular, not even like the conspiracy people or like people that talk about politics and stuff like us at length. Just everyday people are like, how are we supposed to survive? Like, they're at least starting to get it.
To be honest, I don't know about everybody else, but everybody like at the coffee shop, at the local tavern, on the street, everybody I talk to, everybody I overhear conversations from, everybody's on the same page. They're just like, this is, I don't know what to do. Something's going to break. Like, we can't keep going like this.
Yep.
Okay. Mortgage not included. The average amount owed per person is $20,000. So per person, one single person, the average amount of debt they owe is over 20 grand. Like a chill went down my spine right there. If mortgage is included in the calculation, then the average per person debt in Canada rises to almost $75,000. In April 2022, Canadian household debt was $2,116 billion, which is lower than the $2,330 billion owed in 2020. The figures from 2020 show that mortgages form the biggest part of household debt at $1,550 billion, and $802 billion was owed in non-mortgage loans and consumer credit.
Our housing should not be our biggest expense. It's just a recipe for disaster.
Well, that's also like a tailspin as of recently. Okay, and then we move on to net worth. According to Stats Canada, the average Canadian earned $49,000 in 2019. However, this does not give us the real picture, as half of all Canadians earned less than the median yearly income, $37,899. So right off the bat, we're seeing a pretty big problem here. Data from Stats Canada also shows that Canadians' net worth rose by 3.5% per year between 2012 and 2016. The most recent net worth statistics show Canadian families had a median net worth of $329,000. With around 1 million millionaires in Canada, looking at the median net worth gives a truthful picture, as households with high net worth drag the average up. Makes sense. The households, so basically they're taking these numbers, right? But to get to the median, they're working with a lot of very big numbers. We're working with millions, and then we're using division. So
yeah, well, it's like in the States where if you take away the billionaires, the average income drops by like almost half.
Yeah, it reminds me of a book that I'm a fan of called How to Lie with Statistics. I'm not sure if you've ever read it before, but it's essentially they're using sneaky math to make the situation seem a lot less dire than it is. But realistically, if you just cap off like a certain like income bracket, so if you're like, hey, let's see how much the average person makes, excluding millionaires, then you would see a much scarier picture than, okay, we're just going to include everybody and just make it this, number soup. Okay. Not surprising stats, how Toronto and Vancouver have the highest net worth, Montreal has the lowest, Calgary, Edmonton, Ottawa in the middle. That tracks. Vancouver and Toronto are pretty expensive to live in, so in order to get away with that, in order to get away with being able to live there and work there, you'd have to make a fair bit. What is the biggest driver between increased household debt? The main reason behind the increased household debt in Canada is mortgage debt. In 2021, new mortgage borrowing increased again by 41%. However, non-mortgage household debt decreased during the pandemic as emergency income support from the government helped many Canadians lower their credit card bills. Household spending was also down during the lockdowns. No surprise there. Let's see. Statistics show Canadians aged 46 to 55 owe the most money. The consumer debt in this age group, not including mortgages, is $36,241, making the total average household debt before a mortgage $72,400. Okay. Canadians aged 18 to 25 owed on average $8,847 per person at the beginning of 2020. 18 to 25. You're already in the hole for almost 9 Gs, and you've barely been an adult. The average consumer debt for 26 to 35-year-olds was $18,398. 28,000. Okay, so we're going up by 10 Gs pretty much every decade. That's about it.
I just want to answer a mayor's question. The answer is about 1.7 million is homeless in Canada as of current estimates. which was about 2 years ago.
Yeah. It's not great. And, the rent prices and the unavailability of homes does have a cascading effect as well. Because essentially what happens is if you're not able to afford just rent or, buy your own home, or if you lose your job, up here in Canada, I know America likes to call it some kind of socialist haven, but at the end of the day, if you lose your job or get laid off, you better bet that you've got a family member or a friend you can stay with. Because the only other option is you're on the street. They don't have any.
Yep.
Scandinavia rolls a little differently. It's admittedly fairly hard. Last I looked into it, to become homeless in Scandinavia, because they have very robust systems and programs in place to make sure that people are getting by. I know at least the Norwegian government, they have a good perspective on it. I forget which politician exactly said something, but it was more along the lines of if our citizens are struggling, then we're not doing our job.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's kind of a contradiction to the West, whereas in the West, it's more like, well, you're not being responsible enough. You're not working hard enough. You're not being resourceful enough. So it's a neoliberal hellhole like the US. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, these stats are
But with hockey sticks.
Yeah, with hockey sticks, a lot of land, and more apologies per capita.
I got a framing hammer in, and it's called a California style framing hammer. So I put hockey tape on it. So now it's a Canadian California hammer, and it's amazing.
Nice. All right. How many Canadian households are debt-free? Data from Stats Canada shows that only 30.2% of Canadians are debt-free. So if you're a Canadian and you're in the hole, let that be a little bit of solace. There's always felt like there's this underlying shame, or this very distressing negative feelings around being in debt. But the reality is the majority of Canadians are. If we looked up American stats, I imagine they would likely be around the same, but don't quote me on that. My point is, if you're struggling, if you're buried out there, welcome to the majority of Canadians. We don't have enough purchasing power to resolve this problem. It's obviously not as simple as that, but that, in my opinion, is the base problem. You're not bringing in enough income to square away all of the expense. Too much expense, too little income. That's how you get debt. Percentage is bigger among households led by people age 65 or older at 56.7%. Well, yeah, that's an age bracket where you probably own your own home or you have a family.
You bought your own for $10.
Yeah. You bought your own for $10. You already got a home.
Sold it for $30 million.
Yeah, and you probably got a good nest egg. You're probably on a good pension. You own your home. That's a generation that we're not really gonna see again unless there is drastic change. The generation where it was my parents' generation for me. Own their own home, own their own vehicles, kind of all set. Don't have any, college, university debt. It's just, they were all set.
Yep.
Meanwhile, us, we're kind of just buried. And I don't know about you, but I think the reality here is this is going to reach a point where the government needs to just look at the writing on the wall and go, man, nobody's ever going to pay this off. So what is the point? Nobody's ever, we just have people essentially making endless payment plan payments. Right? So mortgage statistics. Okay, so this is kind of just repeating kind of the stats we went over earlier. History of household debt in Canada. In Canada, the total household debt has increased almost every year since the records began in 1960. Oh my god.
Huh. So it's almost like a trend of some sort.
Yeah. By the end of the 190 80s, I love the 190 80s. They're my favorite. That's my favorite definite year that exists. What's next? The end of the 90210s?
That would be amazing. This is the worst year. What year are we at? 8675309.
Oh man, so by the end of the 80s, essentially the debt had risen to 500 billion, surpassed 1,000 billion in the year. Thousands. Okay, so they have a conclusion. Even though there is a high level of household debt in Canada, doesn't mean that it will lead to a financial crisis. Yes, I agree that if I get a cold, I will not sneeze. Do they mean the millionaires will be okay?
Oh man, he caught the death, but he's not dead. He's just, death.
He's just still.
Yep.
While there are similarities to previous recessions, such as a booming property market and low interest rates, banks have not been giving large loans to risky households credit scores. And let me just say, I know I've said this before, but it bears repeating. For all the people who scaremonger over China's social credit score, we literally have one. It's just literally for nothing other than, are you poor or not poor? And you have less privileges and rights if you are just poor and in too much debt. That's reality. You can't take out loans. You struggle with getting a mortgage. Also, if you have a shitty credit score, at the end of the day, it's going to be really hard for you to rent, because if there's a bunch of people trying to rent the same property, unless you just leave an amazing impression or offer to have a cosigner or something, they're just going to go with the best credit score. So life's kind of harder. And
which is a much more recent thing, this credit score for renting apartments. I only remember seeing this about the last 5 to maybe 8 years.
Yeah. I definitely remember a time where they didn't it was more like optional. Like some of them would ask for a credit score, but for the most part, it would just be based off more general statistics. So they might be like, they might be like, do you have any pets? Do you have a spouse? Are you guys both working? Are one of you working? Or a big one I found was that I remember in high school, after high school, I remember trying to get a place with just a couple buddies. The penultimate, I'm a dummy who's 21 years old. Obviously, the way forward is to live with a bunch of my pals. Which I will admit, looking back after going through many years of therapy, that was just codependency. That's all that was. You can't. Everybody should have a period where they live alone. I'll put that much.
Well, and it's a good learning experience for yourselves too. Just to be out on your own, start to get an idea of how you really like to live and stuff like that. Because then at least when you meet someone, you guys will have an idea, but you can blend each other instead of still trying to be figuring out how it works.
Yeah. All right. This should be a fairly quick one because it is a video. Oh God, I swear to God, the ads are. But this is just a little bit of a segue.
Brutal.
a little bit of a segue into what the main.
We could probably use my YouTube account to stream stuff if you want, because I have the premium stuff. I only really watch YouTube, so I went and spent the money.
Oh, that'd be really cool. All right, Pierre Poilievre calls on NDP leader to force fall election.
We're going to go live now to Ottawa, where federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is speaking to reporters. Let's listen in.
Carbon tax, voted against him doubling housing costs and driving 2 million people to the food bank, voted against the crime and chaos he has caused. All the PMO staffers called you in the media and said there would be heads rolling, that they would fire ministers. They called the Globe and Mail and said incompetent and discredited Chrystia Freeland would lose her job to Mark Carney, or at least to someone who knew how to work a calculator. And then that there would be other changes. Maybe even the Prime Minister would step aside to make way and to try and bury the disastrous NDP Liberal record and put a fresh coat of paint on the broken down Liberal car. Well, what did we learn at this expensive Liberal retreat in Halifax? We learned that nothing will change. That Chrystia Freeland, who's been Canada's worst ever finance minister, helping to double our national debt and drive inflation to its worst in 4 decades, will stay in her job. Sean Fraser, who destroyed what was the best immigration system in the world, will stay in his job. The crazy carbon tax minister, Stéphane Guilbeault, who wants to ban trucks, roads, and plastic straws while Liberals legalize crack.
Roads? He wants to ban roads.
This
What?
is communism.
Pierre is of the red persuasion.
Next, he's going to want
heroin.
clean drinking water.
He's going to keep his job as well. The disastrous justice minister, who's helped give Canada a 50% increase in violent crime and a 120% increase in gun crime.
Just a little bit of an aside. Can anybody tell me what's one of the main factors for crime increasing?
I mean, I have some ideas.
Economics.
Mm-hmm.
Every single, I love how I froze it. I'm still trying to figure out how banning roads works, but I'll let that slide.
He will keep his job. But most important of all, Justin Trudeau, the man who is not worth the cost, announced that he will keep his job. Canadians cannot afford another painful, costly, chaotic, and corrupt year of Justin Trudeau. He will not quit. He must be fired. His ego, arrogance, and incompetence will always have him putting himself ahead of Canadians. He would rather Justin Trudeau would rather force an entire generation to go without homes.
Fuck, he's having a Biden moment. God damn.
2 million people to go to food banks. 25% of kids to go to school hungry. That he would rather that continue to be the case than to give up power. He will not quit. He must be fired. And the person to do it is Jagmeet Singh. Singh sold out workers to sign on to this costly coalition. He has voted to hike the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre, for policies to double housing costs, and to tax food. Now, why did he do it? He told us that if he became part of the government, he'd bring down food prices. That was one of his promises. Did he succeed? Well, you don't actually have to ask me if he succeeded. Ask him. This is what he said about food prices last week. When you go into the grocery store and you're buying your groceries, you're spending more than ever before, and you're leaving with less than ever before. Again, that is after 2 years of Jagmeet Singh joining the Liberal government. So what's clear is that Singh did not join to bring down grocery prices or housing costs, both of which have skyrocketed since he joined this coalition. He joined to keep Trudeau in power so that he could get his pension. Jagmeet Singh is trying to delay the election until after February of next year so that he can qualify for a $2.2 million taxpayer-funded pension. That's why Canadians are calling him Sell Out Singh. My message to Sell Out Singh is this: put the people ahead of your...
Pretty sure you just made that up.
You know what he's doing? This is so funny. He's trying to like LARP as Trump, and he's doing the like make up the nicknames thing that like Crooked Hillary or Sleepy Joe.
Good point.
Sleepy Joe will always be my favorite. I think that's the best one. Little Marco. He's trying to do the same thing. Sell Out Sing. He won't do the boomer thing, probably, like capitalize it in tweets, like Trump does, where he capitalizes weird words that don't make sense. But Oh, that's so
it's
funny.
kind of funny that he is making points that we talk about in like socialism and communism with, their corporations are still making big money. So you agree it's a problem then?
I mean,
but then there's a stop. It's like, this is the problem. We're not actually going to fix it, but
that's like the whole conservative apparatus. They're great at pointing out the problems, but then when it comes to fixing them, they're just like, maybe we'll get rid of the. And I'm not a huge fan of the carbon tax, just because I think to address climate change, you need to. You shouldn't be penalizing the people for it because they will resist it. What you need to be doing is putting mechanisms in place for addressing the environment and climate change in a way that affects it the largest. And we're not the ones doing the most damage. You got to go after the people doing the most damage. And if you're beholden to those very people, corporations, military industrial complex, if you're beholden to those institutions, then you're never going to fix the problem.
No, and you're exactly right. Like, it's the people that cause the problem are the people that are richest now, and they're trying to tell us it's our responsibility to now pay for their billions and billions and billions of profits. Like, it's absurd. like no,
I'm
pay up, motherfuckers.
Like, I'm sorry. I don't think the paper straws are going to get us through this. Okay? This ridiculous, you've got to keep a track on, your personal emissions. That is never going to even make a slight dent.
No.
In comparison to the main, the people mainly responsible.
Well, if you really want to fix climate change, start building year-round greenhouses in communities to grow food year-round. Mm-hmm. That will fix a ton of it. Do they do that? Not a chance.
Oh, man, year-round greenhouses? I mean, there's so much we can do with technology. But the problem is we're just, we're not thinking like that. I would like nothing more than to be able to, for Canadians to be able to have their own produce that they do not have to ship in from other countries during the winter. I think we'd be healthier. I think I would be more nutritious.
Yeah, that's why, I talked about the passive solar greenhouse, doing that stuff when we get out to the East Coast, is because I firmly believe that is a good solution. And I don't want to profit off it, but I want to figure out how to do it so that other people can replicate it with ease.
Well, also, I mean, I kind of think of a society where just everybody's able to do this. You get your land and you can just set yourself up to be kind of self-sustaining.
Yeah.
Like we covered last episode. That's a lot better than relying on these people to solve the problem, and it's also fixing your greater problem of climate change. It's
there's simple solutions. It's just they don't want to do it.
No, I think it's mostly, part of it is definitely because all these politicians are in bed with corporations one way or another. We had the receipts on that when we went through the World Economic Forum specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and that includes this guy. You can't hide. Archive. But not just that. At the end of the day, I feel like humans are just, we need to get to a point where we're okay with change. And we need to get to that point like right now. Humans don't do great with change, but if something drastic doesn't change soon, then, well, come on, y'all saw the stats.
We're not very good at adapting to change.
No.
I mean, I get it. Why? So.
Yeah.
Hey, Mares, I will, once we get out to the East Coast and start getting more stuff set up, I will start doing some more like 3D printing and start kind of trying videos in a bit. But it's going to take me a couple months to get out there and get all my power set up. But currently I have 4 solar panels and 2 500-watt wind turbines that Miss Yeti found that I mentioned earlier. And sorry for switching off topic. Yeah. So once I get out there, we're going to get some more batteries and stuff like that. And I found out there's a hybrid MPPT wind and solar controller. So I can use everything to charge batteries. So I'm not enough experience with using it yet to really know how much power I'm going to get. But I will let people know, and then I'll get back into doing more 3D printing and stuff and do some live stream. I'm just not good at like doing math and stuff. So I have to actually get out there and start building systems to really see how much power I'm going to have. So,
yeah,
because I might have more than enough, like as it is, right? So,
no, for sure.
And I thought of an interesting way to do a hot water tank. I'm going to get those old thermos coolers, like the big round ones, and then I'm going to wrap them in solar, but I'm going to use an aquarium heater to keep the water inside warm. But if I wrap them in like solar heating, I shouldn't have to run the heater as much. It should maintain it much better. We'll see how it works though. But it'll be a relatively cheap system to build. Thank you, Sula Moon.
Break the costly coalition with Trudeau to trigger a carbon tax election where Canadians can choose between the costly coalition of the NDP Liberals that tax your food, punish your work, take your money, double your housing cost, and unleash crime and chaos in your community, or common sense conservatives who will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime to bring it home for our country. We'll bring home lower prices by getting rid of the carbon tax, which will not only lower the cost for farmers and truckers to bring us food, or for Canadians to heat their homes or gas their cars, but will unleash $25 billion more of GDP every single year, according to Finance Department publications from this Liberal government. We'll enact a bring it home tax cut to make our taxes simpler, lower, and fairer. The goal is to bring home more powerful paychecks and production to this country. We'll get rid of the government gatekeepers to allow us to produce our clean Canadian natural gas, our vital minerals, our oil, our forestry products, and to bring home production to this country. We'll get rid of
He really, even down to his cadence, it really is like the soul of Trump went into Milhouse and created like a Milhouse Trump hype.
The gatekeepers
and
by allowing
wrong in his idea that we need to do stuff in our own country, which is very much a socialist principle and communist, is that you make yourself your own country self-sustainable.
Yeah, it's just, again, the solutions are so far what I'm hearing from his solutions are, we're going to get rid of the carbon tax. Sure, if at the end of the day that that difference is actually going to go to Canadians. But the problem with Conservatives, especially in Canada, has always been once they start cutting stuff, first off, they don't stop. They'll just keep cutting stuff. And secondly, the difference is never enough to really make a material difference. Not just that, but also corporations and big business always has an answer to these things. It just results in corporations and the wealthy getting wealthier. That's how this always plays out. And every single time, exactly, point out all the problems with zero plan specifically addressing the problems ever. That is essentially, sounds like your government is doing the fake party swap op too. Oh God, without a doubt, don't make any mistake in the world. Liberals and conservatives have voted together over like 300 or 500 times, something ridiculous. There's very little difference between these two parties. The reason why they have to, and same thing in the States, the reason why Pierre has to be like, Justin's a communist and Justin has to respond by being like, Pierre is just like a Walmart Trump. Not incorrect. Is that they need to create distance between the two parties, because if they leave people to just look at the parties, they're going to be like, oh my God, this can't be the only options. You guys are you're just a mean, it's just neoliberalism, like I keep saying.
Sorry, and in replying to Max saying about the 12 volt versus the 240, I am going to use just like an aquarium plug-in heater to run it as to heat the water. So nothing too big, but yeah, just using a 100 or 110 AC.
Our brilliant.
Oh, I think he means to use 12 volt DC instead. Okay. I can figure that out. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Immigrants to take a Blue Seal exam and get working in their professions so we have more doctors and nurses. We will get rid of the government gatekeepers to build the homes. We will require local municipalities speed up permits, free up land, and cut development taxes as a condition of getting federal funds to build 15% more homes per year. We'll sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land to build. We'll cut taxes on home building. We'll back the trades because we need the boots and not suits in order to build those homes. We will build those homes in safe neighborhoods with jail and not bail for repeat violent offenders, with treatment, not decriminalized and subsidized hard drugs, and by securing our borders to keep criminals, terrorists, drugs, and guns out while we bring, and at the same times, we will ensure that our stolen cars do not leave our ports as they do right now. We will get that money by canceling the ridiculous gun grab and respecting the rights of our law-abiding, licensed, trained, and tested hunters and sport shooters. We will also secure our borders to make sure that never again do accused ISIS terrorists get into our country and become citizens of Canada, even after the existence of a video apparently showing that same terrorist mutilating a human body on a crucifix during the ISIS war of over a decade ago. These are the kinds of disastrous mistakes, radical approaches of the Liberal government that must end so that we can replace their costly incompetence with our common sense.
Again, Pierre?
And the result.
Which country? Who started ISIS?
Yeah. Also, this is like
a 3-letter term this time, though.
You can tell he's running out of material. He's just like, hey, ISIS, let's talk about that.
ISIS K. What is this, special case cereal now?
Here's the thing. Like, I feel like politicians, and Pierre obviously is someone who would be out of touch, being like, one of these business enjoyers. This is not even remotely enough to even matter. Like, I want to show Pierre what we just covered with the debt. It's like, dude, the overwhelming majority of Canadians are buried in debt, and half of them do not even make enough money to be able to pay their debt off. What are you going to do, my dude?
Yep. And they don't talk about it ever. Nothing.
They don't talk about it because they have no solution.
Actually fix solutions or fix problems.
Yeah. Jesus. It's just like, even if everything he's proposing went in the best possible scenario, which, let's not forget all of the promises that are broken by these politicians every election, we don't have like a good success rate with follow through here, much like the States. Even if there was a best case scenario, there's nothing to speak to from him about how we're going to fix this massive debt problem.
We'll be a country where hard work again earns a powerful paycheck and pension that buys affordable food, gas, and homes in safe neighborhoods under a proud Canadian flag in the country we know and love, Canada. Let's bring it home.
Finding arbitrations that resolve the rail strikes, and would you use such orders to resolve strikes in key sectors?
Well, I wouldn't have had to do that in this case. The reason that we have these strikes is because of inflation. We had last year the largest number of days lost to strike since 1986. What did we have in 1986? Inflation. Inflation leads to strikes because workers and unions have to fight to get back what they lost in purchasing power. Well, how did the inflation happen? The government doubled the debt. Justin Trudeau printed $700 billion of cash. He increased the money supply by 40%, while the real economy grew by 4%. When you add money 10 times faster than you add the stuff that money buys, then you get inflation. And that screws over workers because they live off wages. If you're a billionaire, like the people Trudeau vacations with, then you don't have to worry about inflation because your assets are inflation proof.
Man, this guy,
he's basically bitching about capitalism now.
this guy said, I'm going to start calling him Comrade Pierre. This is very communistic in what he's saying. No, but this is the scam conservatives do. They'll even use the same language. He's using the same language I'm using. Yep. But the solutions they offer are never gonna get the job done. That's the main difference here. You're never going to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's because corporations jack up prices and then just continually blame government, like they had nothing to do with it. Huh.
Well, it's also so
2% raise on taxes. I had to raise my price by 20%. It's completely normal.
It's also entirely cynical because they're just saying like government bad, none of these other things. Look, the reality is the reason why strikes are happening is because workers do not have enough purchasing power, like he sort of tried to say.
Yeah.
To live, and inflation or not, inflation can definitely be an issue for sure. Absolutely.
Yep.
Could inflation be as much of an issue that we're seeing the terrifying numbers that we're seeing there? No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That the math just doesn't math there. This is ruinous. This is like the majority of Canadians just literally cannot just afford to exist without debt.
And the best way to inflation-proof yourselves, like as a country, is to produce as much things as you can on your own. That's how you deal with it.
Yes, and also maybe don't give money away to countries that like doing, stuff like I don't know, genocide.
Yeah,
that might be a start. Just stop with that.
Yeah,
or even inflation.
It's those damn Palestinians trying to survive. Just
damn them.
A horrible people.
Can't believe they want food and air. How dare they?
We'll send them some Perrier.
Also, y'all, like if you folks think like Trump and Biden are bad when it comes to Israel, don't even get me started on Canada. We're not good. We are not good at all.
Inflation positive, you get richer. It's a transfer of wealth from the have-nots to the have-yachts. And you know what? It's ironic.
That's a good line, though. That is a good line.
That's fucking great.
Yeah, that is beautiful. I'm going to use that one.
Have-yachts to the have-yachts. I'm stealing that. And if anybody asks, I'm going to tell them that everybody but Pierre Poilievre came up with it. Holy shit.
Oh, just old comrade Pierre made this one.
Yeah, have-nots to the have-yachts. Damn, I didn't know Canada was this commie. We're back. We're so back. We're so back.
It's all done with Jagmeet Singh's support. He can huff and puff all he wants, but he supported the inflationary policies that destroyed the wages of working class people, and he supports what Justin Trudeau did on the rail strike. Do you know how we know? Do you know how we know that? Do you know how we know that?
He'll do this exact same
No,
shit.
do you know how we know that Jagmeet supports it? Because he's still in a coalition with them. And if Jagmeet didn't support it, he would respond to my letter this afternoon and say he's pulling out of the costly coalition and he's going to vote to bring down Trudeau and cause a carbon tax election. And that's what I'm calling for him to do today. Jagmeet Singh, stop selling out the workers. Stop being sellout Singh. Put the people ahead of your pension. Vote for a carbon tax election now.
We've been listening to...
All right. And there you have it. So the point of me covering that video is we don't know for sure, but essentially what he's trying to call for is an early election, snap election, if you will. So we might have a change in leadership fairly soon. Every single poll is showing Trudeau's he's not doing good. People are very unhappy. As a note, when you have a government that's been in power this long and it hasn't really changed course too much, you're usually going to get this. People kind of want to try a new direction because, well, look at the statistics. Everybody's poor. Everybody's having panic attacks, all related to economics. Everybody I know is suffering from some degree of mental unwellness, and it's all due to economics. Mm-hmm. It's like if someone just waved a wand and like made them more economically secure, they would probably be very happy. So,
well, the threat of death is like it feels a bit like the threat of death is just overhanging over you, and it's just no way to thrive, let alone survive.
Yeah, and again, like the States in Canada, the stakes are so high. If one thing in my life gets like knocked out of balance, well, all of a sudden, I got to figure out. We barely scraped by when I first got laid off. All of a sudden, if the worst case scenario happens and we just can't afford rent anymore, well then, suddenly I got to figure out something to do with our dog, something to do with cats. Somewhere to live, like that's the thing. And the worst case scenario is you're just on the street and you got to pray that you figure something out before winter comes.
Yeah. Well, when we lost our home up north, we had 2 dogs and 4 cats. We had to find homes for. It was not easy and not fun.
I'm sorry.
Our dogs are. I mean, losing our animals was the worst. That was the only thing that really hurt when we lost our homes, was giving away our dogs. But they both have pretty good homes. We stalk people on Facebook to find them. So
yeah, we'd probably be able to get away with keeping the cats, but having a large dog, it's like, can't really. Yeah. Also, apartments all have these like weird rules now where it's like no big dogs, which I don't get. It's like, but what if somebody
better?
They're always better. Why get a? I've always said, like, why get a small dog when you can just get a cat?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, or like a giraffe.
I mean, I love cats too.
Oh, I do too.
We're planning to have at least sheep, some chickens, probably dogs and cats for sure. I wouldn't mind getting a cooney pig. So they're like hairier. They look like a dog pig.
Nice.
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
It's Kune Kune. Cooney.
Cooney. Wow, it really is Cooney. Oh my god. Oh my god. Really?
Look at how cute that thing is.
Oh, they're so adorable.
I'll just be out there cuddling with my pigs. Hey guys.
Little guy.
We're just gonna wallow in the mud together.
Oh my god, they have cows. They have cow pigs.
And there's like miniature Jersey milk cows. They're, I think, like maybe a third of the size of regular ones, which are perfect for homestead because you don't have too much milk.
Yeah.
We looked at goats, but goats are better at escaping, and it seems like sheep won't escape as well. So I think we're going to go with sheep for now.
I just like how goats scream like humans. Something
yeah.
I was
the fainting cool. Goat.
Yes, the ones that like Windows 95 shut down and they just freeze yeah, those are so good.
It's not even like a defense mechanism. It's some trait that was actually bred into them that it's almost like a mini stroke.
Oh.
It's like maybe humans should not have been involved in breeding of animals.
Mm-hmm. All right. So on to the main course of today. So as we showed y'all right over there, might be a surprise election this fall, but if not, we are on schedule to have an election at least next year, so 2025. So either way, there is likely going to be a big change in Canada soon. So without further ado, what we're going to do now is we're going to go over the different platforms of the different parties of note. So first, we have the party currently in power, which is the Liberal Party, Forward for Everyone. So I guess they're just ripping off Kamala. Is this new? Are they just ripping off Kamala's campaign?
I swear to God.
Canadian elections are just like, we need to just LARP as the states. Okay. So let's put Canadians' health and safety first. Let's build more homes for the middle class and put a stop to profiteering and unfair speculation. Let's support women and families and give every child the best possible start with $10 a day childcare. Let's fight climate change and leave a safe and healthy environment for our children and grandchildren. Let's keep moving forward on real reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. Let's come together to fight systemic racism. Let's find the real solutions to the real problems we face. Let's build a better future that gives everyone a real and fair chance at success. So again, like that's already very close to what we just heard from Pierre. Mm-hmm. Like it's essentially the same kind of pitch, except we're throwing in some virtue signals. We're throwing in some identity politics, which the libs love those because identity politics never costs anyone anything out of their wallet. That's why they love these things. You just basically get a free virtue signal.
Mm-hmm.
We can't afford to move backward, not in the fight against COVID or the climate crisis, not on healthcare or childcare, not for seniors, workers, or families.
I thought COVID was over, though.
Yeah, this is the funny thing. I feel like the West can't really make up its mind of like, is it over? Do we need to do more work still? They're kind of just all over the place. But I will say, for the place we are at economically as a country, this doesn't even feel like a priority for them. This feels like a kind of platform that you would sell to people if they were doing fairly well economically. This is the kind of platform I'd expect if we had like 70% home ownership, for example. But who has that?
Definitely not communists.
No, that never happens. So top priorities: finishing the fight against COVID-19. That's the first one. Okay, I'm sorry. This. Oh my! You guys are really leading with this. Really, we're leading with this, guys. This is your first agenda: mandatory vaccines on planes, trains, and automobiles. Sorry, and in the federal public service. My brain got scrambled. Support proof of vaccination credentials. Okay. Safer indoor spaces like schools and businesses with better ventilation. Free vaccine boosters for everyone. Okay. Well, again, I don't know why you lead with that. I'm not the guy saying that, we don't have to protect ourselves against COVID-19 because I do think you do. But to kind of start with this is the first thing you're looking at when you go to this platform. Sorry.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
If I'm buried in a mountain of debt and I can't afford rent every month, a home for everyone. Unlock home ownership. Sorry, that language. Unlock home ownership. What is this, like a DLC package? Unlock home ownership. Whoever thought of that needs to be fired.
Achievement unlocked.
Yeah, exactly. It's like an achievement unlocked. 1.4 million new homes. Protect your rights. Take action against speculators. Okay, this is the last two are so nebulous that I don't know what to do with this. Better healthcare for everyone. Support to hire 7,500 doctors and nurses. So again, this is identical to what Pierre's talking about.
Yeah. And not train doctors and nurses through better education. Just hire them. Where are you going to hire them from? The moon?
Yeah. I love
we're going to take from countries that already need more doctors.
Pretty much. Better care and long-term care. Again, this is what I love about liberals. They are so nebulous with their proposals that it can actually pretty much mean anything. So I think this is deliberate because you can't really hold them to anything specific. It's well, it wasn't better care and long-term care, whatever that means. And they'll go, well, yeah, it was. And it's okay, well, we can't argue over specifics because you never provided it. Publicly accessible mental health care. Okay, yeah, I like that. But you guys have been talking about that for a long time. And, we're at the cusp of a possible election now. And I'm not seeing the progress here. Action to address the opioid crisis and make it easier for people with problematic substance use to access treatment. Well, as someone who studied psychology, I can definitely tell you there is a very high and provable link between substance abuse to mental health issues, but also to economics, which is linked to mental health issues. So again, if you really cared about a lot of this, you would address the most pressing problem. Because when debates start and everybody starts talking about stuff, when those debates start, every question is going to be about the economy. And if y'all don't have a better answer than just it's inflation and we need to just magically kill the inflation, which is the conservative line, then I don't know what to say to you. Protecting your sexual and reproductive health and rights. I don't even know what that means. What rights are rights threatened? Do we have are sexual rights threatened by anything? I don't think so. More resilient economy. This should be good. $10 a day childcare to make life affordable for families. Okay, my sister would love that. Bring all businesses along to recovery and support them to hire the help they need. Again, nebulous. A better employment insurance system to support gig workers, self-employed people, and give workers more financial security. How about you just squash the gig economy thing, period? All it is for corporations to get the labor and with the least amount of obligation known to man. That's
to
the
the
problem.
employee, yeah.
Yeah. They have no obligations under this gig economy nonsense. Boost world-leading Canadian innovation and research. Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't say anything. Like,
Make
it's
sure.
just... Sorry, go ahead.
Make sure everyone pays. No, you're right. This is my point. Like, there's no. This can mean anything. You can change this to mean absolutely anything in the world, and use plausible deniability. One of the favored tool of the liberals. Make sure everyone pays their fair share, including big banks and the wealthiest among us. Okay, I'm interested, but again, how do you make sure of that? What are you going to do? Are you going to increase tax on certain brackets of people? And also, where is that tax going to go? Because, like, I'm all for taxing the rich. I'm all for, making the rich at least pay their fair share without all of these loopholes that they famously love. But if that money doesn't go to the right places, then there's no point in doing this. Address underrepresented groups in the workforce to build a more vibrant and diverse workforce. Don't we already kind of do that, though? Like, whenever I've gone to apply it for a job now, I literally have to list, like, not only like my sexuality, which is a little, isn't that kind of weird?
Yeah. My
That's
sexual identity is not anyone's business.
Yeah, like, I don't want to, and I know in most of them you can opt out. You can be like, prefer not to disclose. But it's still weird how it's like, what's your race? What's your sexuality? It's like, can we please just focus on, like, my ability to do the job you need? Again, creating opportunities for everyone. Doesn't that just mean this, though? Well, anyway, as you guys might expect, the economy section is brain dead. I don't know about you, Yeti, but what this says to me essentially is just like, we're not going to do anything.
Yeah, they're just gerrymandering to the public about things they could do, but they're not going to actually do them. It's the same thing with, like, reconciliation. They talk about it, but they don't do anything meaningful towards the Indigenous people. Like, it's fluff. Nothing
it's the
but
okie
fluff.
doke.
Yeah.
Canada okie doke.
Yeah.
All right, a cleaner, greener future. Create green jobs in communities across Canada and across sectors. Okay, I'm for creating jobs if they are going to be jobs that allow Canadians to have the purchasing. Here's the thing with the whole, like, green industry. If you're not offering jobs that rectify the problem, which is the cost of living for people, if you're not creating those kind of jobs, and this is kind of a weird thing I've noticed about just politicians in general in the West, they'll just keep saying, like, oh, we made X amount of jobs, or the unemployment is so low, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, like, if all those jobs, I could create 1 billion jobs. If all of the jobs are fairly low paying and don't meet my bills and the cost of living, then it doesn't really matter how many jobs there are, because they need to be ones that sustain a person. If someone is devoting 8 hours of their day, every single day, 5 days a week, to working for a company, there should be no situation where anyone is trying to find a second job or, just going into debt. You are spending the majority of your waking life. You're spending the majority of your waking life working for another person, doing a job that you likely would not be doing if you had, like, any say in it whatsoever.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what Karl Marx was talking about with the 8 hours of work, 8 hours of play, and 8 hours of rest idea, which I'd like to see as less work, but still.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in general, this will be like the reason why I'm ultimately optimistic is because I feel like eventually we'll get to a place technologically where this stuff won't be like that much of a worry. The second we get to a place where, we're essentially Star Trek,
Yep.
this won't be a big problem because it won't hurt the corporations too hard. But until we get there, like, we're going to need, because like stuff like this, cut pollution in heavy industry and make sure the oil and gas sector is net zero by 2050. Okay, how are you going to do that? And
Yeah, just
plastic
like, oh, we're just
waste.
gonna say it, and that'll happen, and just happen.
Who's clean and renewable power from coast to coast to coast? Oh, 3 of them. Okay. End plastic waste by 2030. I will admit we're kind of doing okay there. I like the idea of like bringing your own bags and not having a million like plastic bags flying around, and I like all that. I'm fine with that. I like the idea of bringing your own bags and doing that, just because like I don't know, plastic bags are fucking everywhere. Protecting more of our nature, including creating 10 new national parks. Do we really need more nature? I feel like we're good.
Yeah, we have a lot of nature in Canada. That is something we're not lacking at the moment.
Like, we have a whole country and 90% of it's empty. So, and let's see, reconciliation to your point. Confront the legacy of residential schools. Do you know what that means?
I think it's probably just actually have discussions about what happened, but we know the Liberals aren't actually going to do that. So,
I mean, I would definitely like to tell the truth.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, it is a good idea. It's just there's no faith this government or any Canadian government would actually do it properly.
Yeah. Continue our work to eliminate all clean long-term drinking water advisories. Action to confront systemic racism against Indigenous peoples, especially in the justice system and healthcare. Launch an Indigenous urban, rural, and northern housing strategy. Protect the well-being of Indigenous children and families. So they've got more specifics here. But I kind of checked all these right off the bat. A lot of these are just elaborating more, but they're not providing, like, I always have a problem with politicians who just have nebulous ideas that they're putting forward, but they're not explaining specifics.
Yeah.
Because it kind of feels like, first off, they can set the terms. So if you're nebulous enough that what you can say can mean multiple things, if what you're doing isn't enough or it's a different thing, you can just say, oh, well, you misunderstood me. This was the plan all along. And because they weren't specific enough with their claims or their proclamations, people are kind of screwed. So an equal Canada for everyone, gender equality.
Yeah, like there's no specific details, no outline plan, no timeline, none of that.
Oh, this pisses me off. This one pisses me. I'm sorry. This one gets me heated. ODSP or DSP, disability in Canada is a joke. Nobody can live off that. You were essentially giving someone, it's like a little over $1,000. I think it's like $1,200 a month.
I only get $900 for my disability.
Yeah. So like, that's not support. Like, people are disabled. And if you try and make any other money, it's a clawback anyway. So the fact that they even have the gall to put this here. Addressing disability discrimination. No, they don't need disability discrimination because the Canadians with disabilities are in that great pool of Canadians in debt, except they're operating at like a 500% handicap.
Yeah. It's like we don't need like fairness. We need money to buy things.
Our plan is fair because as Aaron O'Toole won't do. Oh no, they didn't. Oh no, they didn't update their website.
Aaron O'Toole has been not in power for how long now? Holy what a useless group of.
Yeah, this is scuffed. Wow. You got a little bit more though. Our progress, and doesn't that text just look really easy to read and not abrasive at all?
Yeah.
Since 2015, we've been making real progress together to invest in the middle class, grow an economy that works for everyone, and protect our environment. So this is the progress. Introduce the new Canada Child Benefit, which gives more money to the families who need it most, lifting nearly 535,000 kids out of poverty. Well, again, I mean, you may have done that, but the statistics that we looked at earlier paint a much grimmer picture than these paltry. What is this tax like? Are you guys okay? What?
Yeah, like I can barely read that stuff from.
I have to highlight this. This is oh my god. Okay, the $10 a day childcare reality for all Canadian families and created hundreds of thousands of new high quality cases. Banning 1,500 models of assault-style weapons and moving forward with the strongest measures to combat gun violence that our country's ever seen. Now, I just like to say that right off the bat, this whole the liberals are secret commies things, like this right here should have put that narrative to bed. Because Karl Marx was
communist takes guns away.
Karl Marx was very clear in his wording that any efforts to disarm the workers must be frustrated with force if necessary. I know that. Delivering clean air and a strong economy by making zero-emission vehicles more affordable for Canadians. Well, the air isn't very clean if half the country's on fire, sir. I don't know what to say. Restored the age of eligibility for old age security and the guaranteed income supplement to 65 after Stephen Harper raised it to 67. Oh, goody.
Why is it even so high? Most people retire before 65.
Pretty much the reason. Pretty much the reason you'd expect that they want people to be mules for as long as humanly possible.
That's fair.
Canadians are doomed to be beasts of burden until they literally fall over. Taking real action to fight climate change, including putting a price on pollution. But what is progress about this? I don't even know what you did.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
We had a very high-priced meeting in an expensive restaurant and discussed it.
Oh. Lowered income taxes for the middle class and raised them on the lowered the small business tax rate from 11% to 9% to make it easier for Canadians to start and grow the company of their dreams. The problem is, I don't know what to say. Like, I'm not shitting on small businesses, but the workers are definitely the ones you need to focus far more on than the nebulous like middle class meme or small businesses. Help them out, sure. Help the petite bourgeoisie out, but like
small businesses are not going to turn around past that savings onto their workers.
Yes,
or anyone else. They're going to pocket it.
No, it's Yeti. You don't understand. It's going to trickle down to the any day now. It's just
just that trickle down. It's almost here.
It's almost there. I've just heard this my whole life. It's fine. Fucking Reagan. Unmuzzled Canadian scientists. Wait, we muzzled our scientists? It's not good. Reintroduced the long-form census, made in science and history. Made significant new investments to end 132 drinking water advisories on reserves with work underway. Others introduced the Canada Workers Benefit to reduce barriers to employment for low-wage workers and expanded the benefit this year to support 1 million more workers and help lift nearly 100,000 out of poverty. Again, let me just say, despite most of this progress, like, this isn't nearly enough. And for the Conservatives, it's the same. Like they should have a 5-alarm fire on their website saying, we have a drastic plan. We have a drastic plan to address the economic system. Because neither of these any party in Canada that just says, listen, here's our plan, we're going to fix this, they're going to win. Because that's the biggest issue in Canada by far. Mm-hmm. These little Band-Aids, these little crumbs that fall off the table, they're not working.
Yeah.
Okay?
The problem is the economic system we use.
Mm-hmm. Unless you have a drastic plan to reform that, I don't know what we're doing here. You can't. But the thing is, you just can't keep declaring mission accomplished. You're not helping out.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did it, guys. What did we do? We did it. Oh, sorry.
That's pretty much it. Okay. Did you want to cover NDP? We kind of covered Conservatives from that video. Also, the Conservative Party of Canada policy section is just a PDF, and it's so long and weird that it's
I mean, they're kind of irrelevant at the moment anyways. It's really the only two parties at the moment. The NDP is just basically a fill-in group. It's like a bunch of backup singers.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, sorry, I meant the Conservatives. The NDP one is more digestible. I'll kind of show you what I'm.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, I misheard.
Yeah, it's not the ideal. It's not the ideal thing. I would like to have a digestible version of the CPC's platform, since that's the other major party. But it's the NDP that actually has a digestible one. This shit's even flowerier. And I'll be the first one to admit, out of all the parties, this is the one I align with most politically by far. But we're gonna see some similar problems. Are you able to share your screen while we're here? Maybe you want to take this one away?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I linked the link in the private chat.
Thank you.
Oh, replace screen sharing. Nope, that's just done. All right, I'll just stop screen sharing, and then you can just share the screen. Again. While you're doing that, I'm actually going to show on stream. There we go. I'm going to hit the washroom very quickly.
All right. All right, let's go to their platform. So making life affordable for everyday people, which is basically all three of the parties have been going on about this nonstop. None of them will likely actually do anything to help, though. It's just a talking point consistently. Building an economy that works better for more people. Once again, we're going over the same thing again, where it's they're using fluff and like words that sound good, but they're not actually going to do anything. So if we click on learn more, let's see how much. Yeah. So it's the same thing as like on the liberal policies again, where it's just all it's doing is giving you little points, but like this is almost the exact same. Well, except for make employment insurance work for you. That's a new one. Taxing fairness, building Canadian industries, a livable income when you need it. Which when we talk about it in the sense that it's a good idea that everyone needs to have a livable income, it's a good point. But making it relied on the current government standards we have now is not a good idea, because they want people that are just slaves. They don't want any type of free people that have free economics. And a free economy is the best way for people to actually survive. And I don't mean in the capitalist sense. I mean having control of your local economies, whether it's bartering or any of that kind of stuff, is a much, much better system than what we currently have. But yeah, so they're kind of
and the other,
go ahead.
The other thing too, just a quick point. Whenever, let me check this out. Let's see. How did you get to this page?
I just clicked on the link and then I just went to platform.
Okay, cool. Here
we go. Yeah.
So
yeah, they have the quick little diatribe at the start, but then it's like it just gets into these talking points, and they're almost the exact same as what every other one is.
Okay, so a livable income when you need it. Hand out tax breaks to big business, underfunding the programs that we need. Sliding deeper into poverty. Okay, I agree. With the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, we've seen what's possible when governments mobilize to make a livable income a priority. Okay, so New Democrats will work to expand all income security programs in access to a guaranteed livable basic income. UBI is problematic under capitalism, but I will say that the problem with all of this, the problem with the solutions that even like center-left governments have when it comes to the economy, is that corporations always have like an answer or a workaround for it. Every time they raise the minimum wage, for example, corporations, and I've said this before, they won't just be like, oh, okay, well, I guess we'll just pay people more. No, they'll lay people off, they'll overwork people, or also they'll just fall back on the gig economy. And unless they do something, for example, to raise like gig economy wages, that's an additional problem as well. And since under the gig economy, a lot of people just they're just not considered workers, even though they're being workers. They're considered like this nebulous, like one-man business sort of situation.
Yeah, they're technically referred to as contractors, I believe, now.
Yeah, contractors, independent contractors, which is just a very clever way of corporations getting labor and not having to actually play by the rules. It's it's clever. I'll give them that. It's clever. They basically go, we'll pay you to do work, but you got to do it completely on our terms, and we can just drop you whenever. That's what happened to me. I got dropped out of nowhere. I had absolutely no say in it. It was absolutely wrongful dismissal. They absolutely treated me like a full-time worker, but it didn't matter because we had this silly like contractor thing, and they essentially held all the cards. So my point
it's
is,
absolute BS. Like,
my
the
point
workers
is
don't have any rights anymore in anything almost.
pretty much. And the thing is, like, that's where you got to hit them. So if I were the NDP, and I'm not gonna lie, when I was younger, I did consider like actually trying to get involved with this party. Looking back, I'm glad I didn't because they're
Fair.
useless now. What I do is I would ask myself, okay, how do we make a system that's more fair for workers, but also eliminates the loopholes, which is the big thing you got to tackle. You got to tackle the loopholes. You have to think like the capitalist. Okay, I am doing something that is going to make life more affordable for all of the workers in the country. Now, what is the capitalist going to try and do to circumvent that or minimize any kind of loss to their profits as they exploit workers? And that's where you got to hit them. You got to go like, oh, no, you're not going to do that. First thing I'd really do, straight up, I would crack down hard on the gig economy stupidity.
Yep, agreed.
Technically, it's already a thing, but the problem is you got to challenge it in court. You have to go through a lengthy like claims process, all of which I'm still working on, and I was laid off like years ago. So that's kind of just the uphill battle you're stuck with. I would just make it straight up like, I would make it straight up law where it's like, okay, there are very specific parameters that you need to adhere to. And I would also just straight up be like, no, if labor is involved, if someone is doing work for you, okay, then they technically qualify as a worker and they need the same rights as everybody else. You have to adhere to at least a minimum wage. You can't do like wrongful dismissals and all that. I would actually flesh it out to the point where, corporations would have to play ball. And furthermore, I would make it so that companies in other countries would have to play by these rules as well, or it's just you don't get the labor and that's that. That would probably hurt Canada in terms of like global business, just because corporations would be like, I feel like a lot of corporations would be like, that's another thing I'd do too. We got to figure out this massive loophole when it comes to like outsourcing work, because this is like, I saw my entire department get fired and replaced with like basically workers from other countries that they could pay like $2 to $3 an hour. So they essentially, exactly, Natalie. To be perfectly honest, I would essentially, the most radical thing I would do if I actually did get into office, I would just make worker co-ops just a thing, and that's it. You don't have a choice.
I think that's probably the best way forward for sure right now.
Yeah. Because then you give the workers the most important thing to them, and that is, it means production. Best we can for the moment.
It's the power. I'll be right back. I have to run to the washroom.
Of course. And listen, I know a lot of people. I've heard a lot of like dog shit arguments about this. Like a lot of you, I've checked out like some of Kim Iverson's stuff, for example. I remember when she had Professor Richard Wolf, with 2 F's on. He was talking about worker co-ops. And the big issue that Kim had was she was like, okay, but with worker co-ops, what if people just didn't want to work hard? What if blah, 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 blah. She's like, I just don't see it working. And Richard is not great with pushback. He's way too charitable to people who have the wrong idea or don't understand the things he's saying. But essentially, I kind of phrase it this way: if you're hard work, if you're hard work, your innovation, if you kill it at your job every day, and you start seeing tangible benefits, as opposed to right now. I don't know about you guys, but in my job, I work my ass off every single day. I'm not seeing a wage increase. The wage is the same. But if you worked and killed it every single day and you saw that actually result in your material conditions improving, I am pretty sure everybody would work way harder than they do now. Because what's the incentive? Exactly. The co-op would not support someone who didn't contribute. Exactly. Like that's the whole meat and potatoes of it. It's still a job. You can still get fired. Someone's not just gonna sit there and like fart in a chair for 8 hours. And everybody's like, oh, good job farting in the chair for 8 hours. It's like you would still have to do work. The difference is there's more incentive to work. There's more incentive to work than just, I need to make sure I don't lose my job. Because that's the majority of the incentive to work now. It's just work hard enough to not lose your job because there isn't anything there for you. Unless, at the end of the day, unless you're angling for a promotion, but like everybody can't be angling for a promotion at the same time. And you're always going to need those foot soldiers. So at the end of the day, it's like under a system where I see my material conditions increase, maybe benefits get better, salary gets better. You have a stake in your business's success. Exactly. That's kind of my whole point. Because these arguments that it's like, well, everybody, people just won't work hard. Well, I'm sorry. If I see direct benefits to my work, I'm going to bust my ass. I'm going to go above and beyond because that doesn't just affect me. That means my colleagues are also seeing those tangible benefits, which will inspire them and they will likely do better work as well. I'll also feel like we're all working towards the same goal. Human beings love like teamwork, like working together to achieve a common goal. That's crack to a human being. We are social animals. But
oh yeah, cooperation is such a massive thing for people.
Yeah. And the way you see it right now, it's less cooperation, more I'm clocking into voluntary slavery. It's like, do your job, do it. You made a mistake here. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't feel like you're working with anyone. You feel like you're kind of just like a little worker bee that's just kind of driving around in circles. But if I felt like I was like in it together with the rest of my company and we were on the same team, like going towards these cool new goals, man, I'm already kind of like that, but that's only because I'm a workaholic, sort of. But like, just this argument that it's like it would be somehow people would be lazier it's silly. There would be more incentive for you to work hard.
So much more if you actually got like, it's kind of like having local like manufacturing. You're gonna work so much harder when it's you and your friends that are gonna use those things, right?
Exactly. Like you don't have that weird cold corporate detachment. You might in some certain circumstances, but for the most part, you all have the same vested interests. You're all working together to achieve the same goal. Another crazy one I heard about worker co-ops, I don't know if it was Iverson who said this or I think I just heard it on Twitter, but they're like, well, how are you going to get like specialists and executives if everybody gets paid the same? And this is a big issue I take with people. I don't know where this talking point came from, like where it originated, but but under like any kind of communistic like worker situation, everybody gets paid the same. That's never been a thing ever. There's no doctors and janitors that are making the same fucking money. I don't even know how that works because they give the talking point, and this was my rebuttal. They gave the talking point where it's like, well, if janitors and doctors get paid the same, and there wouldn't be, what's my incentive to be a doctor? Like, you wouldn't have any because in this situation you just farted out, there's no doctors in society then. Because why would you go to med school for 10 years unless you're really interested in medicine? Why would you go to med school for like 10 years if you just be a janitor and make the same thing? It doesn't make sense. Exactly. And the reason it doesn't make sense is because it's not real. It's not a thing. There's never been a society that's operated like this. I don't know what to say to you. So,
well, even mostly the goal of communism is just to make sure everyone has at least enough to survive, not necessarily that nobody's thriving.
The point has always been like, the point has always essentially been for everyone to be a baller, not just a couple ballers. You know, all of these different narratives when it comes to any system's alternative to capitalism, it's always like, well, everybody's poor together. And it's like, well no, we don't have data to support that. The data we do have to support that, we have to just pretend like there aren't endless embargoes and coups and like any number of insane garbage where you're operating at a minus 50 handicap. So
socialism doesn't work. That's why we spend billions propagandizing you to hate it, because it's so bad at working.
I mean, socialism works really great for banks. You know, any industry that is about to fall on its face and produce an economic collapse that would be so catastrophic that nobody would ever look back on capitalism and abandon it immediately.
No. So you're saying the people that hold all the money in our system are having money issues? Yes.
That's actually a great way of putting it.
I'm frozen. It's just...
Yeah. Yeah, we're just that down bad. But
they had too much guacamole toast. That's what happened.
It's always about the guacamole toast. I just want to quickly, just for shits and giggles, I know we're coming up to 2 hours, but I just want to quickly, just to end it on a light note, because I feel like we started off heavy with the whole like, oh my god, this is the worst shit.
That's
How
fair.
are you guys surviving? Fair. Do you guys need like a care package or something?
Do you need to phone a friend? 8 friends. All of your friends. Hey, Nilo.
So this is the People's Party of Canada. So good. Diversity, equity, inclusion. Ending reverse discrimination. Reverse discrimination. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, is a far-left ideological fad imported from the U.S., which is being imposed on all sectors of Canadian society by the Liberal government. This hateful ideology holds that the dominant culture and the entire institutional structure of Western societies is irredeemably racist, colonial, sexist, homophobic, and transphobic.
I mean, if the shoe fits.
If the shoe fits. The only problem is you're pretending that they give 2 flying fucks about that. We can't even get our politicians to stop screaming about Arabs in 2024, for Christ's sake. And those are the liberals and the conservatives. According to this doctrine, mere neutrality or equal treatment of individuals is insufficient, as it allows for unconscious. Okay, this is already brain dead. This is so silly. Systemic disadvantage can only be overcome by prescribing special treatment or reverse discrimination for minorities. I mean, there's a difference between like correcting discrimination and reversing it. PI programs. Okay, what's your plan? Abolish all federal DEI programs and policies in the public service and in federal institutions such as the armed forces, as well as those that apply to federally regulated industries. Stop funding groups that promote DEI ideology. Support Canadians that are being discriminated against, harassed, vilified, or harmed in any way by organizations that impose DEI programs. Why don't you just stop here? This looks pretty good. Support people being discriminated and harassed against. But of course, you gotta turn it into like DEI boogeyman. What else? Oh my god, yes. Okay, how bad is this?
Cultural Marxists. Every time. Why is it no Marxist countries are having these issues then? Why is it only capitalist ones?
I can't believe this is a political party. They're like, the cultural Marxists are coming. This is so goofy.
Like, I can't take anyone seriously that starts with that. It's just like, no, you have no idea what you're even talking about to begin with. Why would I listen?
Name dropping Jordan Peterson. Oh man. Drag Queen Story Hour, is that even a thing in Canada at all? Or does this guy just watch?
So.
Did these guys just watch the Daily Wire and they're like, we're just gonna take all the talking points from like the dumbest like right-wing grifters possible? Okay, so what are they going to do about this? Modify the criminal code to outlaw the use of puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and any form of bodily mutilation on minors with the goal of transitioning to another sex. Moreover, any person encouraging minors to transition could be criminally responsible for attempting to cause harm. Look, here's the thing, okay? I don't know why in the West we are so brain broken when it comes to bodily autonomy. It's not like a super segmented issue here. You're either for bodily autonomy or you're against bodily autonomy, but you can't like selectively my body, my choice stuff. You can't be like, I mean, I have my own opinions when it comes to minors. That's a different conversation, but like they don't stop there. Because here's the thing. This is at least my theory when it comes to the alt-right. They start with the kids because they're using the kids thing as a shield. But then he goes to stop funding groups that promote radical gender ideology. What? Inappropriate pornographic content from schools and libraries. Again, is this even happening in Canada? I haven't heard anything about this.
I'm not sure. I've heard about it in the States, but I haven't really seen too much of it in Canada. But I mean, I could be wrong too.
Mm-hmm.
It's happened once or twice.
Yeah. Protect women's spaces, prisons, shelters, bathrooms, and changing rooms from intrusion by biological.
We should not really refer to prisons as women's spaces, maybe.
No, yeah, that you're already giving the game up, sir. You're already like, we're gonna throw you all. We've ended woke, but you're all in jail now.
Yeah. Marxism is when we throw people in jail.
Yeah. So like, first off, I feel like there would be a way easier like solution to this, but I feel like people on the far right just don't. Again, I've said this before. I said this on Morbid Symptoms the other day. I don't think these people actually want any solution to this. I think they want to fight over it, use that as a wedge, because it's like, okay, why not for the women's spaces thing? We have a unisex bathroom, and just that's it, and it's done, and we can stop arguing over this 8 hours.
Yeah,
maybe that.
I mean, have separate stalls in the bathroom, easy peasy.
Believe it or not, Europe's already kind of figured this shit out. Tons of
There's probably some country which is like, they don't just use the same bathroom.
Yeah.
I agree with Nihilo here.
Yeah, like that's the point. See, that's the area that all of the actual fighting Like right here, this is the area that all the actual fighting is over. My issue is that this doesn't appear to be enough for either side of like the culture war thing. Because like the conservatives won't stop there, because you can see right here, like it's like, okay, this isn't about kids, is it? You're just kind of you're making it a whole abolish federal programs to fund sex change operations for civil servants and prisoners. I mean, that kind of does fall under healthcare, so you're essentially taking away some health. I do agree that, you know, we got to figure out the sports thing.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, but my solution for that's always been pretty simple. You just ungender sports entirely, and you go by stuff like weight class, or you know, there's a million different measurements you can make, but essentially you stop making it about gender altogether. Because here's the thing that I found kind of unfair about the way we go about sports. Like, for example, if you're playing rugby, it's a women's rugby team. You got one rugby player who's like 5'1", and then, I mean, first off, if the person's of like Dutch heritage, for example, like the other woman could be like 5'11", right? So you've got like these actual giants fighting hobbits on the battlefield. But if you make it more about just your proportions and your abilities according to like biology, and less about like just making it the gender thing, I feel like that's a little bit more fair. Because it's really, really awkward watching a 6-foot woman clothesline a 4'11" person. That's just sad for the whole family.
It just hurts a little more.
Repeal gender self-identity. So like, again, it's like, again, guys, I'm gonna ask you guys to go back to the stats we showed at the beginning here. This is what this party thinks is like really important.
Yeah.
Reverse discrimination, trans people. Oh my God, healthcare. Do I even want to look at this? What are we going to do for healthcare? Repeal the Canada Health Act. Oh no.
Mixed private and public. No, that's the dumbest thing ever. Why do people think that would work?
So
like,
it just turned
competing businesses for healthcare.
Just turn Canada into America. That's their plan. That's the whole thing. Here's the thing, okay? This whole like long wait time shit, like the worst wait times, they're not. I've lived in the most populous city for a whole decade. I don't think I've ever waited longer than 2 hours in a merge. I don't think I've ever waited that long. It certainly wasn't like unmanageable. Yeah, I'm sure wait times are a little longer, but there's another reason for that. The reason is you're not factoring in the amount of people who will refuse to go to a merge in America, okay? Because they cannot afford it. So they'll just suffer at home and hope that the problem subsides.
Mm-hmm.
And B, there's a different dynamic when you know that the healthcare is covered. You know, I never felt for the long wait BS. Yeah, as a Canadian, I can tell you that's 100% just a Chud talking point. I don't know about you, Yeti, I've never really had these giant wait times that they're talking.
I've had some pretty bad wait times in Alberta, but I mean, sometimes it's busy, and sometimes you have someone come in that's like a big accident, right? Like sometimes it's just inevitable because the doctors are taken up, but it's normally not horrible, and it's actually been better the last few years.
Yeah. Also in Alberta, you've got a lot of gunshot wounds because people have showdowns outside the saloon. There's horse behavior.
A lot of igloo burns too.
Yeah, a lot of igloo burns. Arrows in like the neck, and no offense to all the Alberta people.
There was a couple scalpings last week, you know.
Yeah, I like to I make constant jokes that Alberta is essentially just the Wild West of Canada. I know it's completely inaccurate, and Calgary's kind of nice, actually.
I mean, I do love this province, but it is a bit of the Wild West with corporations in like the States. It's getting worse. People think because they're getting better paid jobs for a year, it's going to be a huge improvement, but it's just going to get worse again.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess they're just gonna trash socialized medicine altogether.
Yeah.
What is this? Ending official multicultural. What?
Like, okay, all the white people get out. Indigenous are getting their land back.
Yeah, right
Wait,
there.
that's not
It's
what
like
I meant.
it's like what do you mean Canadian values? Our whole country was based off us just coming here from Europe.
Yeah.
Are you going to say European values? Because I'll at least respect you just outright saying I want to preserve European values, but like Canadian values, bro, we're not that old a country.
Yeah, like our whole Canadian culture is literally multiculturalism because that's what we've been doing.
How old is Canada? Okay, so it became a country in 1867. So that's really not that long ago.
No, we're
That's
not.
like
We're basically in like early teenage years.
Mm-hmm. So like we haven't really had enough time to have Canadian values or whatever the hell. Okay, I don't. Yeah, here in the U.S., Snork Y2K here in the U.S. It is a 4-month wait for my daughter to see her doctor. About the same time, Canada, to see a specialist or something, you're waiting some months. And every American I've talked to, we've kind of compared notes, and it doesn't seem like there's that much of a difference, really. It just comes down to a people like a people thing. Yeah, so lower the total number of immigrants and refugees Canadians accept each year from 500,000 to between 100,000 and 150,000. See immigration policy. Again, I've always found it just borderline bizarre that a country like America or Canada is like weird when it comes to immigration. Because after you come over to a country and you forcibly take it from the natives, you should probably be pretty open to immigration.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. Public finance, global warming. Oh, they're okay. They're just going to be like, no, we're not doing anything at all. Climate change alarmism based on flawed models that consistently failed. Withdraw from the let's withdraw from the Paris Accord. Stop sending billions of dollars to developing countries to help them reduce their emissions. Is that happening? I mean, I know we send a lot of money to other countries, but you know,
I didn't notice anything about sending millions to Nazis in Ukraine, though.
No, sending millions to Nazis in Ukraine, or sending more millions over a little bit to the east to support an actual Holocaust that's happening. End mass immigration. This is such a meme party.
Yeah, that's the thing. They don't really have a policy. It's just everything people don't like, we're going to put into one.
Post-vaccine. Do we even have mandates anymore? I'm pretty sure we don't. Okay. Well, I really don't know. But okay, for shits and giggles, before we wrap it up, let's just check the economy. What's your plan for the economy, sir? Okay, eliminate all corporate subsidies and other inefficient government interventions, bailouts of failing companies, regional development grants, conditional loans, and loan guarantees with an implicit subsidy, tax credits, etc., that unfairly support some companies or business sectors. This will generate savings of tens of billions of dollars every year. Gradually reduce over the course of one mandate the corporate income trickle down again. I hate this reality.
Nothing about lowering taxes for personals, individuals, though, for corporations and capital gains taxes.
And again, they've got the same weird like obsession that they've got the same weird obsession that Trump's got in the States. Think about how much of this platform is just immigrants. I really think Whitney Webb is onto something when she talks about like the reason conservatives are talking about immigration so much is that they're trying to get everybody on board with digital. Because I don't know why else it would be this saturated with just constant, we got to figure out immigration, like as a solution.
I agree with Neo on that.
Actually, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
I feel like the People's Party was never meant to be a serious party. It's just serving its purpose of sheep herding disgruntled conservatives back to the Conservative Party. I always had that assumption about RFK Jr. for America, and I feel pretty vilified now that he essentially announced that that's exactly what he was planning. But yeah, and just like the NDP as well, the NDP essentially is a coalition with the Liberal government. So if you're adjacent to the Liberals and an election comes, and because again we have like not a super democratic system in place,
Well, and I love the fact they're like, oh, we created a coalition government. People didn't vote for individual parties to make coalitions.
They also didn't. Last I checked, they also didn't vote for a coalition to begin with.
Yeah.
But what's essentially going to happen is if you're like NDP, but then an election comes up and you're hearing all of the the lesser evil speak, if you will, where it's like, oh, well, do you want the Conservatives to win? You probably don't want the Conservatives to win, right? So you probably need to vote Liberal. Otherwise, like, the Conservatives are going to win and it's going to be a spoiler and blah, blah. That's always the voting while holding your nose thing. I feel like, and yeah, I agree with this. RK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard were absolutely ops from the beginning. They were always suspicious, both of them. It's just, neither of them seemed like they stood with anything, and at the end of the day, they got a lot of eyeballs on them and then directed it to being plugged back into the establishment.
Another circuit back to the Matrix.
Yeah. That's our show for tonight. That's pretty much, I feel like we pretty much covered all the major political parties. We covered the NDP, or the center left. I just call them center. We covered the Liberals, which are firmly center right, I would call them. We covered the Conservatives, which are just Milhouse Trump. We're doing a Milhouse Trump. We covered the People's Party, which is just the party, the 4chan party, I guess, the party of memes. Oh, and I wanted to hold on. Let me pull this up. I wanted to give a very special shout out. A very special friend of the network and friend of the show is currently going through something very very serious when it comes to their health. Chanda, who is on Beauty and the Booner and Trailer Park Pundit, I'm sure you folks are aware. I'm just going to go ahead and drop the GoFundMe in the chat. If you guys can help, please do. She's got a pretty big fight ahead of her. I personally am I stand in solidarity with her. I'm in the fight. I'm in the fight with her. We gotta show as much support as we can because this Chanda had a really really rough journey. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, she scared the hell out of me. I just found out she was in the ICU, and I'm like, oh my god, I hope it's not serious. And then the news seemed to get like more and more concerning. So yeah, if anybody can help out, please do. Please help her out. She's got a road ahead of her. But
yeah. Health is not fun to mess with.
No, but all we can do is be as positive as possible. Take one day at a time and encourage her to fight, not give up, because it's not game over. Her doctors haven't said it's game over. At the end of the day, I know plenty of people who have beaten this. I do. The majority of people I know who have gotten a form of cancer are in remission, so it's not hopeless. I do want to talk to her because if we can raise enough money, she can actually go to Cuba. I think get a. I don't know if Americans can though. That's the thing. As a Canadian, I plan on doing it. Cuba and getting the cancer vaccine. But I'll have to look with Americans. But that would be a really good treatment because essentially you give your body immunity to like fight a specific type of cancer, which is incredible.
Nice.
But yeah, we'll look into that. But hope she sues the doctors that put her on hormones. I mean, yeah. Listen, one of the biggest issues that the American healthcare system has is the fact that it's privatized, which is why I always make a big stink whenever the assholes up here try to privatize it, because there seems to be no responsibility. They're like, oh, this'll bring in a pretty penny, and that seems to be all they care about. They don't care if they should do it. And Americans I know, like, their doctors are happy to run 8 million tests, regardless of how effective they may or may not be. Yeah, that's definitely something that I hope improves in the States. But anyway, guys, I've talked everybody's ears off enough. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode tonight. This is episode 6. I really appreciate everybody tuning in and hanging out with us tonight. I hope for people who wanted to learn a bit more about the Canadian election coming up or your different options, this was educational. I'm sorry it wasn't more promising, but that's kind of a theme I do try and instill in people as well, that it's like, we all have to start saying this ain't good enough. That's the only way we get any kind of change.
Mm-hmm.
And look into other means past electoralism. I digress. Thank you folks so much for tuning in. And please give that GoFundMe link a check out. We will be back. We'll be back next week for episode 7. And Greg and I will be doing Politically Homeless this Thursday. Just a quick disclaimer on that. Any discussion that's like of anything medical whatsoever, we are just going to be doing Rumble from now. Another one of our videos got nuked. I'm convinced at this point that just whatever is flagging and taking these videos down on YouTube, there's no way it's a human. It's got to be some kind of like AI sort of situation.
Yep.
Because you remember that one episode when we were talking about, I think it was bird flu, but like they put a COVID label on it, and I'm like, what do you mean?
We didn't mention COVID.
We didn't even talk about this. It's not the same disease. Like now you're giving
it
me
had
this
the word
information.
flu in it.
Yeah, so just something to look out for. That goes for this show as well. If it's Canadian news, we'll probably need to kind of figure some stuff out just to circumvent the weird, crazy malfunction. but I digress.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys all so much for tuning in tonight, and I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your night.
Thanks.